Specialist, and welcome to the 2020 Top Advisor by Participant Outcomes Celebration. We are proud to have advisors with us who are going above and beyond in the area of successful retirement outcomes, and they are raising the bar for the industry as a whole. However, before the announcement of this year's top advisor, we have a very special guest for a timely discussion about the upcoming election and recent financial regulation. He's a political insider, former White House official, and also happens to be an RIA himself. So please join me in welcoming Skybridge Managing Partner, Anthony Scaramucci. Anthony?
John, thank you. That was a very flattering introduction. How are you?
Doing well, doing real well. Hope you are as well. You're not going too crazy with everything that's happening?
No, listen, I haven't been able to leave the house. This is the longest I've been on Long Island since elementary school. Even in the third grade, they let us go to the Hayden Planetarium. You know, but I'm trapped here in the basement. Every once in a while, my wife feeds me, and so, you know, we've got low expectations, John. That's the key, right? That's how we coach our clients too, especially in the COVID-19 drama. Low expectations.
There you go. Wonderful. Well, let's dive right into the questions. I know we've got you here for just a limited time. So, you know, the question on everybody's mind 45 days before the election, Anthony, is where do we sit? Who's got the edge and why?
Well, let's talk about it very objectively. I think that Joe Biden has the edge, not just because of where the polling is, but because of where the sentiment is this time. If you were with me 4 years ago, I would have told you that Mr. Trump, then candidate Trump, had the edge because there was great polarity in the electorate, and Secretary Clinton was more polarizing than Mr. Trump. I would say the opposite today. He's more polarizing than Mr. Biden. So I would say that the vice president has the edge right now. But listen, I've done this for a while. 45 days is like 500 years in Trump world. God only knows what's going to happen. And so anybody that thinks they can call this election is misguided. Of course, I didn't give you my hunches. I didn't give you my political punditry, but FAs and so forth really don't want that. They want an objective assessment of what's going on. And so my objective opinion is it's Joe Biden's race to lose, primarily for three things. The electorate by and large thinks that the president mishandled the COVID-19 situation. They're also somewhat perturbed by the handling of his personal style. And the last thing is the economy got wrecked. Some of it can be blamed on the exogenous event of COVID-19, but some of it can be blamed on the mishandling of the crisis. So those three things are going against Mr. Trump. What's going for him, if you look at the Quinnipiac poll, the Rasmussen poll, or other polls, he's polling at about 50%, 50-42, who's better for the economy. So people do vote with their pocketbook. My grandpa had a great line about polling. It's that last 15 feet. I can't speak for other neighborhoods, but here in Nassau County, you had to be 15 feet behind the person that was polling in front of you. They put that a switch down and the curtain came, and then when it opened, you got your chance to go in there. And my pops used to say, it's the last 15 feet. As people head to that poll, they typically vote their pocketbook. So the vice president's going to have to make an economic case as to why a Biden administration is as good, if not better, than a Trump administration for the next 4 years on the economy.
Think he's doing it?
Not yet. No, I don't think he's doing it. I think he does need to do it. I think the irony is, I'm a bit of a contrarian on this. I don't think it's going to matter much who wins from a stock market perspective or even from the economy perspective. I don't want to be overly cynical, but let's just go back to 2008 and 9. When the Obama administration took over for the George W. Bush administration, they left certain things intact. The Federal Reserve policy intact. Tim Geithner, who had worked with Secretary Paulson and Chairman Bernanke, became the Treasury Secretary, and they began the process of doing the workout for the automotive industry, which was already in progress. And they facilitated the TARP and the stress testing on the banks and the quantitative easing and so forth. And I predict that they'll do the same thing this time. If people are worried about a Biden tax increase, I can tell you that I think it's very unlikely to happen. I know Governor Murphy in New Jersey just put one in, or is trying to put one in, or just signed it. I think that's a disaster in an economy like this. It causes capital flight. It causes brain drain. Barack Obama was way smarter than that, frankly. He didn't put a tax increase in until the economy was stable. We can talk about deficit spending. I don't think you can deficit spend as far as the eye can see. Even the modern monetary theorists, if you read Stephanie Kilton's book, which I do recommend to people, The Deficit Myth, she does make a lot of good points, but you can't spend forever. It will creep into inflation and crypto and gold and so forth. And what it does is, unfortunately, deficit spending, I can prove it to people empirically, that it lowers the living standards of the middle and lower class. And we've already got an income gap and a wealth gap right now, so we don't want to further exacerbate that.
Understood. What do you think of Biden's choice of Kamala Harris as VP pick?
Well, I like her. I was on a bipartisan trip to Israel with her in November of 2017 after I was canned from the White House.
Sure.
I spent 6 days with her and her husband. We went to Yad Vashem together, the Holocaust Remembrance Museum just outside of Jerusalem. I think she's a very talented, very capable person. Again, nobody asked me my opinion, but I'll share it with you guys. I don't think the case I am not Donald Trump and I am not Vice President Pence is enough. I think these guys have got to be a little bit more aggressive. The vice president was more aggressive last night on the town hall.
Sure.
But I think he's got to get out there and really define and create a narrative for himself that's beyond on the antipode of Trump.
Do you see big changes or any changes to retirement plans in a Biden administration as opposed to a Trump administration? We've heard some rumblings about that.
Well, what are the rumblings that you've heard?
Well, that he's going to actually move from a tax break situation or tax deferral situation to tax credit situation. So there's just some changes that he has been talking about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, listen, I've heard some of that. I don't think any of that goes through. I think it's a lot of campaign rhetoric. Obviously, they've got their coalition. The Republicans have their coalition. These are very fragile mosaics, if you will. One of the things is, he's against defunding of the police. He doesn't talk about it that much. When the president is narrating that he's an agent for the radical left, he's not rebutting it super hard because he sort of needs that coalition that included Senator Sanders to get him over the finish line. So a lot of the times what happens is there's a very big chasm between the lip and cup as it relates to policy actually meeting execution and becoming law. I don't see that happening, but that's me. Most economists on the left and right would say stay the course with the current economic policy and stimulus. Don't overly disrupt people or create too many incentives for them to do things that you don't want them to do. So if you're going to raise taxes in New Jersey, incrementally people will leave New Jersey. I don't think it makes sense, but that's Governor Murphy's choice and his legislature. That's my opinion.
Understood. What do you think of Reg BI, the fiduciary rule, and any recent regulation from the current administration?
Yeah, okay, so just so I can be clear, we're talking about the new fiduciary rule that's coming out of the SEC, not the one that we put to bed a few years ago from the Department of Labor. Is that correct?
To be honest with you, both, right? So you got Reg BI out of the SEC, and then you've got Secretary Scalia reintroduced the fiduciary rule, which a lot of critics will say is very watered down and friendly to the industry. So I'm just wondering about your take on both.
Well, I mean, so the interesting part of this is November of 2016, about 4 days prior to the election, I wrote an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal talking about the fiduciary rule, the Department of Labor fiduciary rule.
I remember it well.
I basically said your 401k does not need a babysitter. The notion that the federal government is going to get into the asset management business and punish high feed situations versus low feed situations, I think is nonsensical, and I think it hurts the free market, and it also hurts the very capable, non-nefarious FA. And I'll just give you an example. We marketed for confidentiality reasons. I can't give out the name, but we marketed a very well-known private unicorn. There were high fees associated with that vehicle. If that unicorn delivers a 10-to-1 performance, if you will, or it's a 10-bagger over the next 5 years after it becomes public, why would the fees have mattered? the fiduciary rule would have sort of steered clients away from that, and they would have had you in ETFs and so forth. And you got to be very, very careful when the government gets into the capital allocation business. It creates a lot of distortions. The new rule coming out of the SEC and the watered down version of what Secretary Scalia are offering, I'm actually fine with. I think whether we like it or not, we have to accept the reality of our lives. It's the food, drug, and securities industry. Those industries are the most heavily regulated industries in the United States. And so they're coming after us whether we like it or not. And so just having these rules in place, even though you may not like elements of them, they're actually okay compared to what could happen if those rules were not in place. So imagine we don't have the rules in place, and it's 6 months, 12 months from now, or 5 years from now, and somebody more aggressive, somebody that has an over-regulation, very thick overbite towards regulation, you could get way worse rules than the ones that they're offering. So I, in general, like them.
Okay. Yeah, what'd you call it? The infiduciary rule at the time, I believe?
I did.
Yeah,
I did. I said, this is something that as a fiduciary, I would not recommend if I was in management. You know, there's an interesting thing there. You know, Merrill Lynch, you may remember, they spent over $40 million. They were absolutely confident that this rule was going into place, and they spent over $40 million to put the technological prowess together, the processes to execute on that rule.
Right.
Of course, it didn't happen, and they ate that expense and took a loss. But as I was trying to explain to people, this is the greatness of our system. You could have a over-regulation emanating from the executive branch. A guy like Secretary Scalia, when he was a private attorney, was challenging that rule. He brought the court case. And so the administrative judge repealed that rule. So the good news is you've got a couple of layers of checks and balances and a little bit of diffusion of power in those bureaucracies, which I think is directly beneficial to the American economy. And again, whether you like President Trump or you dislike President Trump, the 200 plus federal judicial appointees are regulatory friendly to the economy. And I think that will be a good thing for the economy going forward. We can talk about the social issues later. People want my opinion, I'll give them. There's no way Roe v. Wade will be challenged by that Supreme Court. I know people saber rattle about that for political purposes, but that is well-grounded law, and it's not going to be Gorsuch or Kavanaugh or Roberts. It's just not happening, and I have a lot of reasons why I believe that, but that's my opinion.
Last question. How do you feel about the SEC's recent update to the accredited investor definition? Something you've been waiting on?
Yeah, well, again, this is a friendlier SEC than the Obama administration SEC. And so if Vice President Biden wins, I would argue that the Trump SEC will be friendlier than a Biden SEC. And so I like it because I think it stops at a level that all of us on this call can live with. Yeah,
understood. Anthony, that is exactly what we needed. Thank you so much for joining us. I really do appreciate your time.
I appreciate it. And even though I didn't have hair and makeup, I'm not going to complain to my agent. Okay. Because I like you. Okay. I'm not going to complain. Okay.
All right.
Well, guys. Thank you.
Great. I'm joined now by Megan Jacobson with JP Morgan Asset Management to announce this year's recipient. And we're very proud to partner with JP Morgan Asset Management on the TAPO program. They are doing some amazing things in the area of participant outcomes. Megan has a few comments she'll make now, and then we'll watch a short video and then announce the winner. Megan?
Thanks so much, John. I would love to start just by congratulating this year's designations named a top 401k specialist, top advisor by participant outcomes. We at JP Morgan really do want to thank all of you for your continued partnership. Now, as the industry continues to grow and evolve, we, both providers and advisors alike, think about collectively offering insights and solutions to help all of our participants get on a more secure path. And the solutions that we've developed over the past decade have been a direct result of all of your input. Things like helping you meet your clients' fiduciary obligations with Target Date Compass, or providing you with timely legislative and regulatory updates to help navigate all of the changing regulation we just heard about. So we look forward to your continued partnership in building stronger plans that help us solve the issues facing participants today. Congratulations again on this amazing accomplishment.
TAPOs are to be applauded for the dedication to the plan sponsors and participants with whom they work. But I'm going to let Megan actually announce this year's recipient. So Megan, go ahead.
Congratulations.
I believe that we might not have heard that. So I'm going to just, unfortunately, it looked like your audio cut out there. Why don't you do it one more time?
Sure. I'm thrilled to announce that the 2020 award recipient is Jana Stout. Congratulations.
All right, Jania, congratulations. And we'd love to hear from you, Jania. Want to be brought on stage?
Hi, can you all hear me?
We can.
Okay. Now, you got us in suspense there, Megan. You're like, and the winner is, and then there was like nothing. And I'm
sorry.
Joke? Are we getting pumped here?
That's it. It's what happened when it's live, right?
Yeah.
You never know.
Well, so thank you, 401k specialist. Thank you for Excel and all the other advisors that were finalists. The thing that I think about is if it wasn't for these 11 other amazing advisors, it wouldn't continue to push me every year to continue to do more for our clients. And you know, the way I think about it is we all need to keep pushing that bar up further so that we all kind of can get more creative every single day on ways that we can impact our participants. And it was just this morning I was looking at another financial wellness program that a client had sent over to me. There's, as many of you know, there's tons of technology out there. There's, you know, every single month there's a new fintech coming out with some financial wellness module that they're pitching directly to our clients. And I'm a true believer, and I think you all would agree, that it's not going to work unless you have the advisors on the same side of the table. So I think it's us, the advisors out there, that are pushing it. And I think the shiny objects, like the technology, is definitely important, but you got to have the humans behind it. And so that's, you know, what I would say is we all got to join arms and continue to push it. Also push our providers, whether it's record keepers, asset managers, to continually think outside the box. I mean, I thought that after automatic enrollment and auto increase, you know, what more were we going to do? And look at where we are today. I mean, we've got student loan programs, we're involved in health savings accounts, and then we've got all this really cool video and technology we use to engage participants. So thank you all for naming me as this year's winner. But I think that everybody that was a finalist this year is a winner because we're all in this together. So thank you all.
That is excellent. Really appreciate your dedication and passion, Jania. So that's wonderful. Excellent. And thank you again to our top advisors and to our partner, JP Morgan Asset Management. Just a reminder that the Excel 401k Digital Series continues back here on Monday at 3:30. But until then, have a great weekend. And thank you so much for joining us.